The rain had been falling nonstop over Seattle since morning, coating every street and rooftop in a soft gray mist. Ethan Parker didn't mind the weather. He always said the rain made it easier to think. But lately, thinking only made him feel heavier. Something inside him had been shifting for months, quietly, slowly, like a door closing without anyone noticing until it finally clicked shut. That evening, he sat on the living room couch with a cup of coffee, listening to the rhythmic taps against the windows. Laura, his wife of 12 years, had sent a quick message an hour ago, running late, don't wait up for dinner. He wasn't surprised. She had been coming home late a lot recently. She always said it was work, meetings, deadlines, new projects, and he believed her. But belief couldn't stop the growing distance between them. They still cared for each other. They still said good morning, still shared chores, still talked about bills and errands. But something tender had gone quiet. A gentleness that used to flow easily had been replaced by polite conversation and tired smiles. Ethan didn't blame her, and he didn't blame himself. Life just happened. But the silence between them had grown too familiar. A knock at the door pulled him out of his thoughts. When he opened it, Maya Thompson stood there with her umbrella dripping and her hair slightly messy from the wind. She flashed a warm, familiar smile. "Hey, Ethan. Sorry to come unannounced. I just came to return Laura's book she loaned me weeks ago." Maya had been Laura's best friend since childhood. They grew up together in Toronto before life pulled them into different cities. When Maya moved back to Seattle a few months ago, it felt natural for her to reconnect with Laura. She visited often, sometimes for dinner, sometimes for coffee, sometimes just to talk. She had always been bright, calm, and comforting in a way that made people feel safe around her. Ethan stepped aside. "Come in. Laura's still at work, but you can wait if you want." "I won't stay long," Maya said, but her voice softened as she entered, grateful to be out of the cold. She handed him the book, then hesitated. "Actually, I could use a warm drink if you don't mind." "Not at all," he said, already heading toward the kitchen as he prepared tea for her. He realized something. Maya's presence made the house feel less empty. She wasn't loud or dramatic. She simply carried a warmth with her that softened the air. They settled into the living room. Maya tucked her legs under her as she sat beside him, not close, but comfortable. She glanced at him with gentle concern. "You look tired," she said. He offered a small smile. "Long week. Laura mentioned things have been crazy for you both." He nodded. "Work's been intense for her, and I guess I've been quieter than usual." "I don't know. It's just one of those phases." Maya studied him for a moment, her expression soft. "Marriage can be hard, even good ones." Ethan didn't expect the comment. But she wasn't judging. She was simply being honest. "I feel like we're drifting," he admitted. The words came out before he could stop them. He wasn't complaining, just acknowledging something he hadn't said out loud. Maya leaned back, listening. "Distance doesn't mean love is gone. It just means something needs attention again." "Yeah," he said quietly. "I guess we've both been too tired to notice." They talked for a while, about Laura, about work, about how life sometimes moves too fast. Maya shared her own struggles with moving back to Seattle, rebuilding her life from scratch, finding her place again. It wasn't a deep confession, but it was personal. And somehow, Ethan felt himself relaxing around her. There was no inappropriate tension. No hidden motives. Just two people having a genuine conversation that felt honest and unforced. But sometimes emotional closeness can feel louder than physical closeness. Something subtle hung in the room, like a warmth neither of them fully recognized, but didn't try to push away. Maya looked at him with kind eyes. "I know you care a lot about Laura. She talks about you." Ethan was surprised. "She does?" "Of course. She loves you deeply. She just gets overwhelmed. She wants to do everything right, and sometimes that makes her shut down." He felt something inside him loosen. It had been a long time since anyone talked about his marriage with this level of understanding. Before he could respond, the front door handle turned. The sound cut through the room like a sudden breeze. Maya straightened. Ethan felt his chest tighten. They weren't doing anything wrong, but the timing felt dangerous, almost too perfect. The door opened slowly, and Laura stepped inside, shaking off her coat. Her hair was damp, her eyes tired, her posture heavy from another long day. When she noticed Ethan and Maya sitting close enough to look deeply engaged, in the same space where she used to sit with her husband, she froze. She didn't drop anything. She didn't gasp. She didn't yell. She just stopped. Her eyes flicked to Ethan, then to Maya, and then back again. The room went still. Ethan stood up instantly. Laura, hey, we were just talking. Maya stopped by to return your book. Maya rose, too, her face full of guilt, even though she hadn't done anything wrong. Laura, I'm sorry if this looks. It's fine, Laura said, though her voice trembled slightly. She placed her purse gently on the table, her expression controlled but fragile. I know nothing happened. That was the moment Ethan's stomach sank. Not because she accused him, but because she didn't. Her tone wasn't angry. It was sad, sad in a way that told him she had been feeling outside their connection for longer than she ever admitted. She walked toward them, not with accusation, but with a quiet ache in her eyes. Ethan felt his throat tighten. He wished he could explain the depth of his loyalty, the constancy of his love. But the silence between them had grown too large, and explanations felt too small. Laura sat down on the couch slowly, as if her legs were carrying more weight than usual. She looked at Ethan first. You two looked comfortable. Her voice wasn't sharp. It was tired. Ethan tried to speak. We were just talking. That's all, about you, actually. Laura nodded, staring at the floor for a moment, then she lifted her eyes again. I'm not upset because I found you with her, she said softly. I'm upset because I realized something. I walked in and saw warmth between you, something we used to have, and I haven't seen it in us lately. Maya's eyes widened with sympathy. Laura, please don't think. No, Laura said, turning to her. This isn't your fault, and I'm not blaming either of you. I just saw something that reminded me of what I've been missing. The room felt heavier. Ethan felt guilt, not for anything he'd done, but for everything he had failed to notice. Laura took a deep breath. She looked at both of them with vulnerability Ethan hadn't seen in years. Maybe, she whispered, I've been watching my own marriage from the outside. Those words struck him harder than anger ever could have. Ethan stepped closer. Laura, you're the center of my life. You always have been. I never meant to shut you out. She reached for his hand gently. I never meant to drift away, but I did. And maybe I didn't even realize how far. Maya watched quietly, feeling as though she was intruding on a moment she had accidentally stepped into, yet she didn't move. Something kept her there, something unspoken, but deeply human. Then Laura said the words that shifted the night completely. Let me join you. Both Ethan and Maya looked at her, confused. Laura continued, her voice trembling but sincere. I don't want to feel separate anymore. I want to be part of whatever warmth I saw just now. I want to reconnect with you, she said to Ethan. And with you, she added, turning to Maya, because you've always been important to me, too. She wasn't talking about anything inappropriate, not even close. She meant emotionally. She meant wanting to step back into closeness instead of observing it from a distance. Ethan felt something inside him break open, relief, love, guilt, hope. Maya stepped forward gently. Laura, you're not losing anything. Tonight showed how much all three of us care about you. Laura let out a shaky breath, tears welling but not falling. The tension didn't vanish, but it softened, turning into something honest and real. The rain had slowed to a gentle drizzle, tapping softly against the windows of the Parker home. Inside, the living room felt warmer, not because of the heater, but because of the presence of three people trying to find their way back to each other. Ethan sat in his favorite chair, his hands clasped together, staring at the muted glow of the lamp. Laura sat beside him on the couch, her coat forgotten on the floor, her hair still damp from the rain outside. Maya lingered near the edge of the couch, hands folded neatly in her lap, feeling the awkward weight of being caught between friendship and intimacy, but in a way that was entirely emotional, not physical. The silence was not uncomfortable. It was heavy, meaningful. For the first time in a long time, all three were present in the same moment without pretending or hiding. Ethan felt the tension in his chest loosen just a little. It was still there, but it had changed. It had become honest tension, a mixture of guilt, relief, longing, and hope. Laura broke the silence first, her voice soft, almost a whisper. "When did we stop being close?" Ethan swallowed hard. The question wasn't new. He had asked it of himself many times in the last year, but hearing her voice, hearing the quiet pain behind it, made it impossible to ignore. "I don't know," he admitted. "I think we just got caught up in everything else. Work, schedules, responsibilities. I guess we forgot to notice each other." Laura nodded slowly, her gaze dropping to the floor. "I think I forgot, too. I thought I was showing love in the ways I always did, but maybe I stopped noticing what you needed." Maya watched them, feeling a mixture of relief and sadness. Relief because the air had finally opened enough for truth. Sadness because she had witnessed a distance that neither of them had realized existed until tonight. She wanted to step away, but Laura's next words kept her rooted. "Maya, do you know why I'm not angry?" Laura asked, looking directly at her now. Maya shook her head, a slight tremble in her lips. "No. I thought you would be." Laura smiled faintly, though it didn't reach her eyes entirely. "Because I saw something when I walked in, something I haven't felt in a long time. You two were comfortable with each other. Honest, warm. Something Ethan and I haven't been for months." Ethan felt a pang of guilt, quickly followed by clarity. He had spent so long thinking about the problem, analyzing why their connection had dulled, that he forgot to feel, forgot to recognize it when it appeared. "Laura, he began, but she gently raised a hand. "I know," she said. "And I don't blame either of you." Maya reminded me of something important, what connection really feels like. Maya's heart fluttered at the words. She felt guilty for intruding emotionally into their lives, but Laura's calm acceptance softened the weight. "I never meant to take your place," Maya whispered. "You didn't," Laura said quickly. "I see now that you've always been part of my life. Tonight, you reminded me of what warmth looks like. And I want that warmth back, with both of you." Ethan exhaled, relief washing over him. His heart felt lighter yet heavier at the same time, because the raw honesty of Laura's words brought both clarity and responsibility. He leaned forward, his voice gentle. "Laura, I love you. I've always loved you. I didn't realize we were drifting until tonight. But seeing you here, seeing your face, it reminds me why we started this journey together." Laura reached for his hand, and their fingers intertwined naturally. The familiarity and comfort of it brought tears close to her eyes. "And I love you. That hasn't changed, but love alone isn't enough when we stop noticing each other. We need to rebuild, slowly, together." The room went quiet again, but this time it was a comfortable silence. Ethan and Laura's hands still touched, while Maya stayed close but respectfully at a distance. Yet, she wasn't disconnected. She could feel the bond between them, the marriage, the friendship, the history. And in a strange, unexpected way, she felt hope. "Do you remember our trips to the lake?" Laura asked, her voice soft, almost wistful. "When we'd leave the city behind and just exist together?" Ethan smiled faintly, the memory warm and bittersweet. "Yes. We'd sit by the water for hours, talking about everything and nothing. I think that's when I felt closest to you." Laura's eyes sparkled slightly, a tear threatening to fall. "I miss that. I miss us." Maya leaned forward, her voice steady but gentle. "Maybe that's why I'm here tonight. I can't fix what's broken between you two, but I can help remind you of the parts that are still good. The parts worth keeping." Laura turned to her, searching her face. "Maya, thank you. I think I needed someone to see it from the outside, someone who could hold up a mirror without judgment. And you did that tonight. The three of them spent hours talking. They didn't focus on past mistakes. They didn't linger on guilt or regret. Instead, they focused on understanding, on sharing fears, on reconnecting. Laura admitted the exhaustion she had felt from trying to balance work, life, and marriage. Ethan confessed the loneliness he hadn't named, the small distances he thought he could ignore. Maya shared her struggles with coming back to a city she once called home, the feeling of being both part of life and on the edges of it. It wasn't easy. The emotions were raw, unpolished, real. But for the first time in months, or maybe years, they were speaking openly without pretending. They weren't just talking. They were healing. Laura leaned back on the couch, finally relaxing. I didn't realize how much I needed tonight until it happened. You two reminded me of what love feels like, not just romantic love, but love that's honest, safe, and forgiving. And I want that again with both of you. Maya's eyes softened, tears welling slightly. I think that's the thing we all forgot, that love isn't just one person, it's what we create together. The warmth, the care, the honesty. It's bigger than anyone alone. Ethan nodded, feeling the weight of those words settle in his chest. I'd been so focused on trying to fix things quietly that I forgot the simplest thing. We don't fix by ourselves. We fix together. The conversation drifted naturally into old memories, funny stories from childhood, embarrassing moments from their school days, trips they had taken, and moments that reminded them why they valued each other so deeply. The room, once heavy with tension, now felt lighter. Yet the emotional depth remained, a beautiful, tender weight that spoke to how much they cared for one another. Laura paused mid-laugh at a memory and looked at both Ethan and Maya. I think we all needed tonight. I think I needed to see that connection in action, that it's not too late to find it again. Maya smiled, the guilt fading, replaced by a warm relief. It's never too late, she said simply. We just need to be honest, open, and present. And tonight, we are. Ethan reached for Laura's hand again, this time holding it more firmly. I promise to be present, he said softly. I want us to rebuild. I want the us we lost to come back, not perfectly, but fully. Laura's smile was gentle, almost fragile, but sincere. I want that, too. And I want you, Maya, to be part of it, not as a replacement, but as someone who reminds us what closeness and honesty feel like. We've all missed that. The rain outside continued in a steady, soothing rhythm. Ethan glanced at the window, then back at the two women he loved, in a way that honored their bond, their history, and the possibility of healing. They talked late into the night. They shared fears and hopes. They admitted mistakes they hadn't acknowledged. They laughed and cried, and through it all, a new dynamic began forming, not messy, not inappropriate, but emotional, supportive, and deeply human. By the time the rain slowed to a gentle drizzle, they felt something shift. A bond that had been strained was beginning to strengthen. They didn't solve everything, and they didn't have a perfect plan. But they had something stronger than routine or comfort. They had truth, honesty, and the willingness to show up for each other, no matter how long it had been since they had last done so. Laura finally leaned back, exhaustion and relief mingling in her expression. I never thought I'd feel this open again, but tonight I do. And I think we all needed this moment to see what we've been missing. Ethan nodded, smiling faintly. We've been given a second chance, not just for our marriage, but for our friendships, our hearts, everything that matters. Maya's voice was soft but steady. And we can keep this. We can keep building as long as we stay honest and present. The three of them sat together in quiet harmony, listening to the final drops of rain hitting the windows. It wasn't perfect. Nothing ever is. But it was a beginning, a gentle, healing start. And in that moment, something subtle yet profound shifted between them. They weren't just repairing what was broken. They were creating something stronger, something fuller, something that would last. A marriage rediscovered, a friendship renewed, hearts opening in ways they had forgotten were possible. All because Laura didn't walk away. All because she chose to step in, to join them, to reclaim what had been lost. The night ended with warmth, hope, and quiet understanding. It was the night that reminded them that connection, real human connection, is never gone forever. It can be rebuilt, nurtured, and shared again. And sometimes, the moment that changes everything comes quietly, without warning, on a rainy evening when hearts finally speak the truth.